This video is a review video for the Simply H2O. So a couple things we need to go back over here is, first off, the structure of a water molecule. You have to remember that a water molecule is covalent because oxygen and hydrogen are both nonmetals. You also need to remember that it's a polar bond because if you go back and you draw it, you've got O in the middle surrounded by two H's, but oxygen has those two unshared pairs sitting on top of it. Since it has those unshared pairs on top of it, that's what makes it polar. Now, also because of this, it has a bent shape. Remember, bent has two unshared pairs and two surrounding atoms. And then water has intermolecular forces in more detail as hydrogen bonds. That is this picture here. If you remember, intermolecular forces are caused by this hydrogen having a partial positive charge, and this oxygen from a different water molecule has a partial negative. So because of these partials, you end up getting this attraction between the water molecules. Okay, so a couple things. Surface tension, which is minimizes the surface area of a liquid. Water molecules will not escape their surface because they do not have enough kinetic energy to overcome those hydrogen bonds. So water molecules are not attracted to the air, and so water has a high surface tension. So that's why bugs and certain things like that are able to walk on it, because they don't put enough force onto the actual water to break that surface tension. Now, if you take something heavier like a cat or a dog, of course they're not going to be able to walk across because they put too much force, and they are able to break that tension. Now, this slide is missing words up here, but pretty much what you need to know is, and if you look in your notes, the words are actually there. Pretty much the main thing is you don't even need to worry about this so much. You just need to know that if I ask you any sort of property about H2O, you have to know the reason for it is hydrogen bonding. So if I ask you why water has a high surface tension, or why it has a high heat of fusion, or anything like that, you've got to know simply because of hydrogen bonding. So any property of water is pretty much due to that. Lastly, and probably one of the most important questions, and I'm going to ask you an open-ended question, and there's no telling what the exam will do for you, is you have to know why ice floats, and not just simply because the density decreases as water freezes. So that's one of the things, though, is as water freezes, the density does actually decrease, but the question is why? Because most substances, that's not true. Usually it's the opposite. So why does water density decrease? And that's said in the next two bullets here. So what happens is when water reaches a temperature of 4 degrees Celsius or lower, it forms this rigid crystalline structure that's shown here over on the side. And when it does that, it forms these pockets of air. So as you can tell, these are your pockets of air here. So what that does is, since you're putting air into these structures, that's what's causing the density to go down. So therefore, ice floats in water because the density decreases due to air pockets within the rigid crystalline structure.